Hey there, gang. It's Jesse. Today, in this video, I'm going to ask you to travel back in time with me, if you will. Back to the year 20... That's not how you do that. 2005 is what I'm trying to say. Come back with me to the early days of World of Warcraft. Back then, I was but a young buck, sowing my loins, seeding the earth. I don't know what is happening in this video. Anyway, I probably should have written a script for this, but I was younger, is what I'm trying to say, and I liked Warcraft. I was a huge fan of the franchise. I have been a huge fan of Blizzard forever, and back then, Warcraft 1, 2, 3, and then Frozen Throne all led to this World of Warcraft thing. And I think most of us kind of knew what it was going to be. We had this idea of what they were going for. It was the idea of taking an MMORPG and then giving it this single player flavor and making it so you didn't need to be in groups. And at the time, I was playing Final Fantasy XI, and let me tell you, that was rough if you were trying to play by yourself. It was near impossible. And I think up until that point, everyone just assumed MMORPG meant you had to play with people. And I think Blizzard took that idea of sometimes there's no one on to play with and was like, let's run with that. What can we do with that? And it revolutionized MMORPGs forever. So when the beta dropped, I was there. On the first day of launch, I was there. And I've been there every day ever since, except for like a year when I was like, I can't be asked with these rep grinds in Pandaria. But here I am, still playing 15 years later. And in the time that I've played, in that 15 years, the game has changed so much. It has morphed and developed and become something entirely different than it was when it first started. And that just happens over the course of time. It's how they're still the #1 MMORPG, because they continually adapt and change and keep players invested in what's going on. There's an ease of access to it now. The UI is more friendlier. The things you can do are just better quality of life things. It's something that I actually really enjoy the older I get. Which is why, when they announced Classic WoW, my initial response was like, oof. I played that on launch. I lived that life. I leveled a healer through it. I really don't care. I don't want to go back and do it again. I could care less. It's not for me. But if it's your thing, enjoy. That's kind of the attitude I've had ever since it was announced. I was like, whatever. The whole idea of it. Think about the Barons. How there would be quests where sometimes the mobs you need to kill are so sparse they're all over the map and it takes you hours to find them. I remember that. It sucked. And I was just like, I don't know that I ever want to go back and do that. I am happy with the way WoW is now. And that did not change. It's exactly how I felt up until I played it. Last week, I went to an event with a bunch of other Warcraft streamers and YouTubers and all that stuff. And we all got to sit down and play Classic. In my run, I don't know how this worked out, was myself, Tally, Rudy, Tyrden, and Chinglish, and we were all on this row together. And it couldn't have been a more perfect setup for fun. All of us just started talking, and we were like, instead of just running around and doing whatever, let's run a dungeon. And so we all picked our classes, and because I was a Resto Shaman back in vanilla, I was like, screw it, I'll be Resto, I'll keep you guys alive, let's see what it's like. Let's see if I remember what it's like and how to play. Off the top, let me just say this. The things you think you remember about vanilla, or at least the things I thought I remembered about vanilla, are not accurate at all. I'm not talking about the grind stuff. That's definitely still a thing that's going to be there. Don't even question that. What I'm talking about is straight up just like abilities or things that you thought your class could do. I'm sitting here looking for half my heals on my shaman. It's not there. I'm a Resto Shaman. I only have 2 heals. I have a big heal and a small heal, and that's it. And everything else, I'm like, okay, where's my drop all totems thing? That's not there. You got to go totem, 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 totem. It is crazy how different it was. And I started to remember that most of the changes didn't happen until we got to Burning Crusade and then Wrath. And it's been so long, the past just sort of like blended together. It wasn't about like, do I use Chain Heal or Healing Surge or Healing Wave or Spirit Link or all the billion heals a Resto Shaman has now. It was literally, you have a big heal, you have a small heal. Do you use your big heal here or your small heal here? And more importantly, do you use the higher rank or a lower rank? Is it worth healing more to use more mana? Is it worth healing less, but saving your mana. That kind of thing, it changes the experience completely. Because now, everything seems very fast-paced and frantic, and you have to know kind of like, do I use Chain Heal, or Healing Surge, or Healing Wave, or Spirit Link, or whatever the hell 9 million heals Shaman have right now. It's one of the reasons why during Pandaria, I was like, I think I'm done healing. I'm over this. And to go back and experience like a simpler time is crazy. And it felt so much more fun just to goof and joke and not stress too much, and the fights are pretty straightforward, and you're not just like, okay, so you gotta move over here and do this thing, and you gotta like point the boss this way. It was just like, there's a tank, there's DPS, there's a healer, we're having fun, we're chatting, we're like making goofs. By the way, I know Tally pretty well. I've gotten to know Rudy a little bit more, but Tyranids and Chinglish, I've never met Tyr before, and Chinglish I think I've met one other time, and it's one of those moments where it's like if you were really into an old TV show and you go to a party and everyone there loves the same TV show you do, and you just like get into it. It's like your old friends who have known each other for years. And it's that vibe of just, we all knew jokes, we were all cracking the same stupid one-liners and just enjoying ourselves, reliving that time period all those years ago. We were in the Barrens running around being dumb, talking about Menkrik's wife, and we were like doing the whole Barrens chat thing. We were in the dungeon making jokes like, guys, can you please wait up? I have to drink my berry juice. Like just having a good time, being dumb, and it still was a ton of fun. It wasn't like over stressful. It wasn't this thing where like, well, if you don't know the mechanics of this fight, you're screwed. It wasn't stressful. It didn't feel like you had 50 million things on your bars and you had to micromanage every single one of them. It's kind of one of the parts of current WoW that I'm just like, ugh, why is there so much stuff? Especially for a shaman. Which, don't get me started on that. You better change shaman, Blizz. But for this moment, for this 2-hour period in which we ran this dungeon, I like re-fell in love with Classic. And I know that's crazy. It's probably one of those things where the people you play with affect the experience. I get that. And I probably would say friends are going to make this experience way better. But with that all said, it was something I didn't expect to enjoy and actually ended up loving, and walked out just like, man, that was great. And it really was. It felt like old times. And I know that's just rosy colored glasses looking back and recapturing youth or whatever, but it felt like it. It was a moment where I experienced real true like smiles on my face. And I was just like, this is great. And I hope that comes through in this video. I feel like I'm just rambling about it, but it's one of those things where it's hard to describe the feeling of just like pure joy and knowing what it is, right? Because I knew I wouldn't like it. I sat down ready not to like it, and there I was liking it. And I had that revelation while playing like, this is great. This is actually a ton of fun, and I can't wait to jump in with friends, right? Again, I don't know how I'm going to feel about leveling by myself. That may be another video one day where I'm like, oh man, this is rough. But if you have a solid group of friends who are going to play together, I guarantee you're going to have a great time. And that was my main takeaway. This is something that if you already have a WoW subscription, give it a try. I have a feeling you're actually going to like it a lot. Yes, the grinding bits and the questing struggle, it's still going to be there. But they've done some quality of life things, they've messed with UI stuff, they made it feel more modern on the like user interface side. There's a lot of options there that were not there in vanilla. And I think the mix of the two, and having it be set in patch 1.12, and they're not going to ever change that. The character you're playing, this was another takeaway that I had. The character you're playing is not going to be patched differently, right? It's the way it is. So there isn't going to be a thing where like, well, you know, in patch 1.12, we found that warriors' axes are too sharp. So in 1.13, we're going to change that. Like, the game you get is the game you get through Nax. And I think that's fascinating because they have hindsight of giving you the best quality version of every character at that time period and letting you play the game with that. And I think that's going to be fascinating as well. Man, I'm on the hype train now. I get it. I totally get it. I can't wait for launch. I'm very excited. August 27th cannot come soon enough. I know it's going to be great. And I'm really excited to see what those who never experienced it think as well. Hopefully you enjoyed this trip back in time checking it out. I know as we get closer to launch. I'm sure there'll be other videos. But that's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in Baron's chat.
You know, where's the payoff?
Bring the strippers and booze!
We do occasionally talk about video games.
Bring the strippers and booze!
Not enough time for video games.
Bring the strippers and booze!
Oh, thank God, I don't need pants now.
Hey, JC, what are you doing? Not much. Making a fortune.
It's a professional broadcast.
Yeah, now sing music.
It's a professional broadcast.
Bring the strippers and booze!
It's a professional broadcast.
I'm here to ask and answer one simple question.
It's a professional broadcast.
You got